sports. Good week for the Clemson Tigers. Terrible week for the Gamecocks.
I feel like that's every week.
Let's start out with Clemson since they had a good game. I think this is probably their best overall game that they've had this year.
Yeah, I agree.
They go down. They play Syracuse. Syracuse was undefeated at the time.
Yeah.
Obviously, their undefeated record wasn't, they were playing tough teams and earned 4-0. So
Yeah,
we kind of expected, even though Syracuse was 4-0 for
Yeah.
Clemson, to kind of dominate this game.
You don't really know how to react to a team's record
Right.
prior to conference play starting, I feel.
Yeah, unless they had played like some, bigger non-conference game, which
Yeah.
Syracuse, they didn't do that. So, but also, Clemson has always struggled when they go to that dome.
Yeah.
And when they play Syracuse on the road.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a big thing for them, is that they not only looked great on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
They looked good offensively. Cade played well. They ran the ball well. And then on defense, they had 5 sacks, 3 or 4 turnovers.
Yeah.
So they were doing it on both sides of the ball, and they were kind of fighting that demon of that of the Carrier Dome, where they have always struggled to play.
Yeah, and and I was seeing this on Twitter yesterday, and I know this is like it's just beating the drum like we normally do, but Cade isn't there. He's not Deshaun or Trevor Lawrence. Like it's going to take time for him to grow into that role, and you could kind of see it a little bit yesterday.
Yeah.
I definitely think I saw somebody tweet about, he looks down his receivers too much.
Yeah.
But again, that's going to come with time. Like he has to get comfortable in this position.
Yeah, that's definitely some youth, staring down receivers.
Yeah.
Like I said, being able to look off safeties and look off defensive backs, it's going to take time. And again, this is only his 6th start, dating back to the bowl game.
Yeah.
Only played in 7 or 8 games,
and especially a meaningful game.
Right.
Like any game experience is good experience, but this is like it's hardest. It's silly to say it, but it was like his first really true road test with I guess you could say a hostile environment. Say what you want about Duke, they are a great football team, but it's not like that stadium.
That was also when they played Duke. It was game 1, so even the Duke fans weren't as hyped about that team.
That's not an environment you go when it's like, oh God, that's such a tough environment to play.
Even when Syracuse isn't great, that dome it's always a tough place to play.
Yeah.
So even when Syracuse hasn't been good, that's when Clemson still struggled, playing there. So that's why I thought them going in, getting off to a fast start, creating turnovers to begin with, scoring 14 points off of turnovers, really put Syracuse, behind the 8 ball to start the game. And you give Clemson any kind of momentum, they're just going to ride that. And that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, I mean, Clemson, I think the game started just as perfectly as you would want as a Clemson fan.
Right.
Syracuse kind of stopped the momentum for a little bit, but they just couldn't capitalize on not mistakes by Clemson, but their inability to score. And then, dude, Clemson's defense is just elite. Like there's no other way to put it about them. Like I hate saying it as a Gamecock fan, but their defense is top notch, and they're always normally they're going to be good.
Yeah, they had 5 sacks, 6 tackles for loss, an interception. I think 4, maybe 3 or 4 fumble recoveries.
Yeah, Syracuse had 3 turnovers yesterday, 2 fumbles, and 1 interception.
And Clemson scored, I believe. I know for the first 2 turnovers, they got points right off of that. Probably on the 3rd one as well.
Yeah, because Syracuse was driving on their opening drive.
Right.
The only downside, like a quarterback running, and you can't fault somebody for like trying to get extra yards.
Right.
But I think he was trying to do too much, and they're not really taught ball security in that position.
Yeah.
And whatever momentum they had on that opening drive, it's out the window with that fumble, and Clemson took advantage of it with the touchdown.
Yeah, I think really it was Syracuse's first 2 drives. So they were marching down the field, lose the ball, Clemson scores. They were marching again, turn the ball over again, Clemson scores. And you can't do that against any team really, but a good team like Clemson, they were coming off a tough loss, but they played extremely well in that Florida State game. Should have won that game. If you look at that game as a whole against Florida State, Clemson they played better that day.
They did.
Than Florida State. They just lost it at the end. So,
and it's bad to say it was only week 5, but everybody in the national media, maybe even Clemson fans, have written off the season as like, okay, we're not making the playoffs.
Right.
We're probably not going to make the ACC championship since there's no divisions now.
Yeah.
They did get some help last night with Notre Dame beating Duke because even though that's not Notre Dame's in the ACC, they're not in the ACC. Right. So, I mean, the door is still open for Clemson to make a run to make the ACC championship, but I just think their shot of the college football playoff is down the drain. But you kind of take that mentality of just screw it. We have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
So why not?
You still want to see them come out. You know that Cade's going to be there next year, so you want to see him, consistently improving.
NIL.
Yeah, but more than likely, Cade's going to be there.
You want to see him NFL next year,
right? You want to see him continually improving each game. You want to see this offense that is still brand new, start to develop and what it's going to be. They got a new defensive coordinator too, so you just want to see overall improvement at this point.
Yeah.
Because more than likely, these teams in the ACC, they could start beating up on each other, and you're never out of it.
Yeah.
They have 2 ACC losses, but they're really getting into the thick of ACC play now. And some of these teams like Louisville, I mean, they're 3-0 in conference play. That's not going to last.
I don't know, man. You never know.
North Carolina and Duke, they're going to have to play each other. They're still going to have to play the Florida State.
And Clemson's got
Miami's.
North Carolina.
Yeah. So,
but Clemson, I think they need to rely heavily on their running game because, I mean, they've got 2 studs back there with Shipley and Maffa. I mean, and credit to Clemson. I mean, they got their passing game going.
They do. I think that sometimes they pass, like you said, a little too much. I mean, 37 attempts for Cade is when you got a quarterback that is trying to figure it out. And I know a lot of these attempts are the swing passes and the quick screens and stuff like that. But, just limiting him having to make those decisions and make the throws. It was kind of like with DJ. When DJ was in that 22 to 25 attempts at Clemson, he was solid.
Yeah.
And then it was when they got him into the 30, 35 attempts, that's when he started making the bad throws.
Yeah.
And they just got to find that middle ground to where they're making the right throws, but they're also running the ball and they're keeping it from, risking your quarterback making mistakes.
And he had some questionable throws yesterday. If Syracuse could have capitalized, he probably would have thrown 2 or 3 interceptions yesterday. I mean, he threw it. He had some questionable, passes, like I said, but, credit. I mean, they figured it out. They dominated that game. It was close, but I don't know. Sometimes the score doesn't really do justice to how dominant the game was.
Right. And like you said, Syracuse started to kind of claw back. They made it a game there towards the middle and right after halftime, but then Clemson just kind of pulls away at the end.
Yeah, Clemson's defense allowed 286 yards of total offense. I mean, you can't ask much more from that.
No, you really can't. And then they'll get to come back home this week, taking on Wake Forest, who's 3-1. So,
Clemson's schedule is very favorable, not in terms of the teams they're playing,
right?
But they've got Miami away, NC State away. You never really know going into Raleigh how they're going to play,
right?
And then they've got Notre Dame at home, they got Georgia Tech at home, North Carolina home, and at South Carolina.
Right.
So I mean, their season's not over. They've got a very favorable schedule.
Like I said, the way that the ACC is set up, they're not completely out of the ACC championship.
No, they're not. No, they're not. And it wouldn't surprise me because,
I said, in Florida State, they're top 5 in rankings or whatever. But I truly don't think that Florida State's a top 5 team. They've struggled multiple times this year, with Clemson. They struggled a little bit, in an earlier game. So,
Boston College.
Yeah, so Florida State's definitely they're a beatable team. Somebody, they're going to have to play.
And both those games for Florida State were on the road.
Right. So Clemson's going to get to come back home this week. I think that's, only going to be beneficial for them. They're taking on Wake Forest. The FPI has them at an 89% chance of winning that game. Yeah. Wake Forest is 3-1, but again, Clemson in this situation, they're the better team.
That should be an easy win for Clemson because Florida State's remaining schedule. They had an off week this week. They've got Virginia Tech this coming Saturday, which they should win.
Right.
Then they've got Syracuse at home, Duke at home, at Wake Forest, at Pitt, Miami. So I mean, they still have some tough, conference games to play. And
who knows what Duke's going to be now? With that injury. to Riley Leonard at the end of the game.
Yeah.
So yeah,
definitely,
you can't write it off yet because just the way that the ACC is this year.
Yeah.
You've got some better teams, and those better teams are going to have to play each other. Somebody's going to lose the game. So, if they win out in ACC play and finish with only 2 ACC losses, there's a good chance that you can still get into that ACC championship game.
I mean, and truthfully, this speaks at a national level. There's no team that like sticks out on paper and says they are the top team. You could say that about Georgia the past 2 football seasons.
Right.
But you don't see that from any team right now.
And you can't say that about Georgia now either. And we can kind of dive into that at the end.
Yeah, we will.
But yeah, I mean, Clemson can claw themselves right back into the top 25 easily, and then probably finish the year, top 15, top 10, and then like I said, you've got a whole year under your belt with Cade as a starter. You got a whole year under your belt, with Garrett Riley as your offensive coordinator,
and who knows how long you have him for.
Right. Coming into this year, the way that they had touted him, I thought this is going to be a 1-year deal for Garrett Riley, and then he's going to get a head coaching job. But they've kind of sputtered here in some games, and offensively, it's kind of been what's held them back some. So I think that he does have to prove it a little bit more. So I can see him at least another year after this.
I mean, he could always go to a smaller school, you never know.
I think if he was going to do the smaller school, he would have went ahead and made that jump
probably
after last year. Yeah. I think that he's trying to position for a big time job.
And I don't even think he truly I was talking with a friend of mine who's a Clemson fan, and I think it's just I don't know if it's just rumbling around Clemson, but they don't truly think Riley has like full reins to open up the playbook. I don't know if Dabo have some influence on it or not, but I don't know. I feel like when you hire somebody as top caliber,
and sometimes those are always the rumblings when it's not going great. It's like, oh well, he doesn't have 100% freedom to do what he wants to do. They want to do this, and he wants to do, and you kind of always hear that when it's not going great. It's usually quiet when everything is going good, but that is the kind of stuff here, and it may be true. I could see that. I could see him saying, "Hey, just kind of rein this in. Let's start perfecting this, and then we'll slowly open it up."
And I think that's a thing you could say for any team.
Yeah, really,
because it's like you're going to hire a coordinator to run the type of style of offense that you won't run.
Right.
So I think Clemson's okay. Like I said, it's easy to panic, overreact, but
it's not going to surprise me
through the season
if Clemson is sitting there in that ACC championship game at the end of the year. As much as Clemson fans are just kind of out on that right now.
Yeah.
I can still see it shaking out to where they're sitting there at the end of the year.
Yeah.
They always have that horseshoe that is just so far up there that they end up pulling off something that they should.
But if they lose one more, like I said,
one more ACC loss pretty much sits them out. But
Miami, that is an away game.
I think the Notre Dame game is the biggest. Is going to be that biggest one.
But the Miami game is not a true away game. It's like going to play where the Rams or the Chargers play.
Exactly.
You hear more away fans than you do those fans.
All right, let's move on to the not so good.
If I had a brown paper bag, I'd put it over my head right now.
South Carolina went down to Knoxville. I knew this was going to be a tough game. A lot of other South Carolina fans were a little bit more hopeful after that Mississippi State game, but watching our defense play against him and giving up almost 500 yards to a not great offense, and then having to come in to what Tennessee does, I knew this was probably how it was going to play out.
I mean, you knew going in Tennessee wanted to run the ball.
Right.
That much is true. I mean, we gave up 238 yards rushing, 239 yards passing, and I mean, I don't know. We're statistically the worst. Top to bottom, the worst defense in the SEC.
Yes. And it's not – and the bad thing is there's been no improvement. No. It's kind of like the same thing. At least with the offense, you could say, all right, the line has played better in spurts.
Yeah.
Or, we've ran the ball better at times.
Yeah.
With the defense, it's been what it's been since game one, and nothing's changed.
Yep.
And that, sometimes – obviously the athletes have to execute. We've always said that, but eventually that falls on coaching. When nothing changes and then you can make no in-game adjustments as well, that's on coaching.
Yeah.
And you're not putting your players in the right position to succeed. Yeah. And again, it wasn't going to help that Tennessee, the way that they run their offense is snap it, It's either going to be a very quick throw,
yeah,
a quick run, and then as soon as they spot the ball, Tennessee's snapping it again.
And we don't have a lot of depth on that side.
No, and it was so frustrating watching our defense because in most plays, our defense line is standing up, looking around.
Mm-hmm.
We got players running around, and Tennessee's already snapped the ball.
Yeah.
You can't make good defensive stops when you're not even set.
Yeah, and I saw a tweet, and this is kind of talking about the coaching staff. You know, Beamer's a very loyal guy.
Right.
We know there's not going to be any changes to the coaching staff mid-season.
Right.
So I just don't think that's beneficial to anybody.
No.
But he does need to take a good look at the defensive coaching staff. Honest to God, a lot of position coaches.
Yeah.
You know, and I hate when a coach says this, but when you say in your post-game press conference, you need to find ways to get your playmakers.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I can understand that the first 2 weeks because it's like you're trying to figure out what you have. But going back to last night, we ran a jet sweep with Luke Doty.
Right.
We've got Nicholas Harbor.
You got Olympian.
Yeah.
You're legit. He's going to run for the Olympics.
Or try to
track
get
star. Right. And eventually he probably will.
Yeah.
You have him and you need to get a yard.
Yeah.
And you put in your backup quarterback / backup wide receiver / backup
running
something
back.
Else. Probably backup water boy at this point.
Yeah.
Instead of the track star.
Yeah.
Like if you're saying let's find ways to get our players in, that's the way.
Yeah.
That's it.
They're finding ways to get DeCarrion and Luke in there.
Right.
But we need to do away with the DK experiment at running back.
Right. I agree.
I'm sorry.
Unless it's like a swing pass, something to get him on the edge, something like that, sure. But actually handing him the ball off, it's not working.
Mm-hmm. It's like,
and I thought we figured that out last week when you finally had a breakout game from Mario. And the other thing is, how about this? You're on a 3rd and 1, and you have Mario Anderson back there, and instead you put the smallest running back that you have. At least with DK, he's got a little bit of weight to him. Juju is so small, and you're like, all right, you go get us this yard.
The strength of
no sense.
The strength of Tennessee's defense is their defensive line. What's our weakest part of our offense?
The offensive line.
Right. And you put a kid that's smaller, skinnier than you
to try and get a yard against their defensive tackles that are 310 pounds.
Yeah. And
if you put Trey Knox back there, if you need to get the yard, put somebody with some weight that's going to be able to run it and hit and get through.
Mm-hmm.
Like Juju's just not that guy, especially on a 3rd and 1 when they know, okay, they're coming straight up the middle and they're just going to try and get this yard.
Because they zeroed in on Xavier Leggett. I mean, he was pretty much quiet, but it's. I think it's just something.
That's just good coaching on Tennessee.
But I think it's something that I've tried to not ignore, but look past. We don't have a lot of offensive weapons.
Yeah.
That we've put out there.
Right.
But it's like at this point, screw it, man.
Are you
really gonna base your whole go to bat for somebody like Luke Doty? And they're good athletes, don't get me wrong, but you've got the number 1 athlete in the 2023 recruiting class sitting on the bench so you can run a jet sweep with Luke Doty. And I don't know if that was supposed to be something where maybe if he sees an open pass, let him throw the ball. But
no,
man,
just
come
don't.
on.
At this point, I get that Harbor wasn't a tight end or wide receiver in high school.
Screw it.
You got to throw him in there now. Right. Exactly.
I mean, he's not going to learn anything.
Run straight.
He's not going to learn anything just practicing every week.
Right.
I can go out there and look good in practice.
But the thing is, you can't just keep saying as a head coach, and he even said it. I know you guys are getting tired of me saying this. Yeah, everybody is. Just do it.
That's why you get paid millions of dollars.
Exactly.
It's not rocket science.
It's not that hard when you're saying we have to do this. Okay, if you know that you have to, why aren't you? It makes no sense.
Yeah, clearly.
And like you said, it's easy. It's not like you're asking him to run concepts and everything else.
Yeah.
It's a jet sweep.
Yeah.
You tell him, hey, run this way, grab ball, run that way.
Yeah.
It's not hard.
No. But again,
you don't even have to have a play call. Just say line up, come in motion, grab ball, run yards.
Yeah. And pray to God we block.
Yeah, you're a track star. He is faster than every single person that was on that field last night.
Agree. Yeah, 100%.
And all you needed was a yard, and all you got to do is say grab ball, run.
But Beamer's loyal, and he likes guys that are loyal, so we'll just keep trotting out Luke Doty and DeCarrion Joyner. I mean, DeCarrion Joyner got a run, had the ball handed off to him, and he just fell down.
Yeah.
Just fell down.
And also, another thing on coaching as well is at the end of the first half, you're at a 3rd and 16, 3rd and 17. You are not going to get a first down. You're not.
You're not going to score.
There's 58 seconds left in the half, and you know that they get the ball at half. Again, we talked about it with Clemson and Florida State last week when Cade threw the pass. You know, the player has to execute when the play's called. 100%. It was an awful throw by Rattler when he overthrew. That ended up in the pick six. Terrible throw. He shouldn't have done it. He should have made a better throw when the play was called.
Yeah.
But it should have never been called.
Why run that play?
It should have been a draw. When we were sitting there watching it last night, you were like, what are we going to do? I was like, we need to just hand it off, go down, punt it away.
Yeah.
And then more than likely, Tennessee, if you get a good punt, which we have one of the best punters in the nation, you're probably going to get a good punt. And if you flip the field a little bit, more than likely they may take one shot. But other than that, they were content to go to half as well.
And honestly, like, we weren't getting beat deep. Like, Joe Milton's not an accurate enough quarterback to like consistently beat us down the field.
He threw 2 interceptions last night.
And I don't know. I wish we put as much time into being creative on offense than we did special teams.
Right.
Maybe Pete Limbo should be our offensive coordinator.
Something. I mean, they outside of that one fake field goal that was just an underthrown ball. I mean, he was wide open. Last week.
Kyle Kroger's accurate back there. It just that's just what frustrates me. It's like you have the ability to obviously tinker with special teams.
Right.
Usually works, but after the game, we got to find ways to get. That's the same reason why Jaheim Bell left last year.
Right. We got to find ways to get our playmakers the ball. It's not hard. You know who the playmakers are. Yeah. You know what they can do. You know their abilities. Just do it. It's not hard.
But we keep trotting out Luke Doty.
And here's the thing: is if you don't think that they're ready, stop saying it in your press game. Yeah. In your post. We need to find ways. Yeah. Stop saying it. Just don't say that. Yeah. Just. If they ask you a question about Harvard, just say, all right, we're still working on getting him in, but we want to get him in the right situation. Don't say we got to find ways to get him the ball. It's not hard.
But the only way he's going to get ready is put him in there.
Yeah, you got to put him in there.
Like, it's not rocket science.
You're not going to figure it out. You'll figure out some stuff in practice. He'll learn, how to set his feet, how to do these things. But the best way to get it is in-game reps.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with Jaheim Bell last year is like he's not a great blocker. Who cares?
Yeah, it'd be one thing if he was like, a 3-star guy that was, kind of showed out in preseason and we expect good things from him. We got to find ways to get him the ball. Okay, sure. Yeah. No, this was the top athlete in the recruiting class, heavily recruited by everyone. He can figure it out. Yeah. There is no let's figure out how to do. Just put the ball in his hands and say run. Yeah. I mean, you don't even have to throw it to him. Just run the jet sweep. Put him at running back and just hand and say, hit the corner.
Yeah. I would much rather, if we're not having, if our offense isn't going to be this world beater, I would rather put people in there.
Figure it out.
Again,
it's kind of, Clemson season isn't dead. But at the same time, we were just talking about, like, they're at this point, you're not going to play for the national championship, but you're playing to improve every week. Yeah. You're playing so that your quarterback gets better because he's coming back next year. You're playing so that your offensive coordinator gets more comfortable with his players because he's coming back next year. Yeah. All right, well, Harvard, I pray to God he comes back next year. I wouldn't blame him if you keep saying
he might go to Oregon.
Yeah, you can't blame players when you come out in your press conference and say, we got to find ways to get them the ball. Yeah. And you're not even attempting. It'd be one thing, too, if Harvard was on the field running 15 to 20 routes and we just didn't throw it to him because he was covered, or, X, Y, and Z, whatever. And you say, all right, we tried, we just couldn't get it to him. Yeah. He's on the sideline. You can't get him the ball when he's not in the game. Mm-hmm. So that's not saying we got to find ways. That's just being boneheaded about things.
I mean, especially in today's climate where, you don't have to worry about some kid if he transfers. He's sitting out a year.
Yeah, no, he's going straight and playing for somebody.
But, we keep throwing out DK.
And Doty.
I'm all for loyalty, but loyalty doesn't win you football games.
Look, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't be on the field. There's certain things that they can do.
Saying that. I'm saying they shouldn't be on the field. We've got better.
DK better than
we've got better athletes than those two on the football team.
Here's the thing. Even if you say, all right, Harbor's not ready to run that jet sweep, Amarian Brown is.
What's so complicated about a jet sweep?
But I'm just saying, if you got the players that are in there, Amarian Brown is more qualified to run that jet sweep than Luke Doty. He's faster. He's a better athlete.
Yeah.
He's the better choice. If you're going to say, all right, we want to use the guys that we're using, he's there. Use him.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. Spencer didn't have, he looked rattled last night. He did.
And again, it's the line. Like,
and we're not a good team on the road under Beamer.
No.
We're not very good on the road.
It doesn't help when their line can't do anything.
Yeah.
And again, here's the other thing is it's not like it's a 4 quarters of bad for either side of the ball. It's like, okay, defense looked good on that drive.
Yeah.
Why the hell can't we do that every drive?
Yeah.
Or 9 out of 10 drives. Offense looked great that drive. Hit a 75-yard run, or you drive right down the field and score a touchdown. Why can't you just do it consistently? Why can't you consistently drive after drive, put it together? Because the thing is, Beamer comes out and he was like, we're better than a 2-3 team. Talent-wise, probably so.
Yeah.
If you could be consistent, you probably have a chance to beat Georgia at the end. You probably have a better chance of beating Tennessee, but there's zero consistency.
Yeah.
Like you have drives where the line just drives them off the ball. We move right down the field. And then you have a drive where Spencer's running around, like he's Pac-Man, just trying to.
Yeah. And I think it messes with his confidence when he knows he's not. And he's not going to come out and say that, obviously. But
that's in every quarterback's head.
I know.
The first time you get sacked that second time or you're running for your life, every time the ball is snapped after that, you're thinking, okay, I got to get it out quick or I got to run.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's why you'll say, oh, well, that was on Rattler there because he got out of the pocket too quick.
Yeah.
Probably so.
Yeah.
But that internal clock in your head speeds up as the game goes on and your line can't protect you.
And, I mean, I was talking with a buddy of mine. He was like, I wish this game was at like noon.
Yeah.
Because it's a very different dynamic for any tough place to playing at, during the day than it is at night.
Right.
I mean,
and for them, that was also for some reason after
it was their Super Bowl.
After we spanked them last year, and Spencer even said it after the game. Because at one point the crowd was literally the whole game.
Yeah.
And so like he said, congrats to them. I'm glad they got that win because that was their Super Bowl.
Yeah. I don't know if
they could end up playing for the SEC championship. That game last night meant more to Tennessee fans than it did.
Does that say more about our program or their program? That they had this game circled on their calendar.
I don't know what it is, but it seems like even when South Carolina isn't a world beater team, it's almost still like Georgia has to beat us. They got to, even when we're 2-8 on the year, and Georgia's got to beat us.
Yeah.
Obviously South Carolina Clemson's a rivalry. It's always going to be like that. But then you got Tennessee, it's just like, all right, we got to make sure that we beat South Carolina. We got to make sure that we do it. All right. I mean, you should.
Yeah. They wear the special uniforms.
Yeah. Their spooky attire, whatever it was.
Everybody's saying,
brought back the national championship team.
Everybody cheered when Hendon Hooker got hurt last year, which is false.
Yeah.
They're just creating a false narrative. And there's bad fans in every fan base.
Yeah.
But Tennessee's up there for teams I hate. It would go Clemson, Georgia, Tennessee.
Yeah, probably.
They're the worst.
Yeah.
You would have thought Tennessee, the way Tennessee fans acted last year, they had a great season.
Yeah.
I think it was an anomaly.
Right.
They're a good football team. They're not a great football team.
Yeah.
You would have thought they're the best thing since sliced bread. After last year.
They think so. And they definitely think so now
that
they got their revenge.
Yeah, they caught lightning in a bottle last year with Hendon Hooker. He was dang good. It sucks he got hurt like that last year. But yeah, Tennessee fans are pretty dang obnoxious.
Yeah. The best thing for South Carolina right now is we have a bye week this coming up week.
They can't figure out how to get these playmakers
Yeah, you've got
on the field.
2 weeks. If you come out against Florida and Harbor gets 0 snaps, someone needs to be fired.
Yeah.
If you can't figure out during a 2-week bye period how to get your best athlete, the best athlete in the recruiting class from the previous year onto the field, then you just don't know what you're doing.
And we have a very, very, not in terms of like win-loss, but we have a very favorable schedule with
home.
We play Florida at home in 2 weeks. Then we're at Missouri, at Texas A&M. Then our final 4 games are at home.
Right. You got a favorable
I'm not saying
schedule.
we're going to win them.
Yeah.
But clearly we play better at home.
Yeah.
But yeah, if they don't get this figured out, I mean, honestly, I don't know. It's a huge overreaction, I'm sure.
Yeah, because again,
you just can't keep continuing to say, We're almost halfway through the season.
Yeah.
You can't continue to say we need to find ways to get our play on the field. No, that's gone. You can say that in the first game or second game.
Yeah.
This game or halfway through the season,
you can't say it anymore.
That's over.
It's got to be figured out.
These coaches get paid too much money to either not coach them up. Is it a coaching?
Or just not get them in.
Is it a coaching issue? Like, who's making these decisions to not put these guys on the field?
Here's the thing: it can't be. In terms of wide receiver, it can't be, because even though we're kind of thin at the position, the guys that are out there pretty damn good.
Yeah.
In terms of Juice Wells, Omega Blake, and you look at, Justin Stepp knows what he's doing. Yeah. I truly think that he knows what he's doing to get these guys ready because, all right, Juice was a good player before he got to us, and then he comes here and all of a sudden he's, maybe a top pick.
Yeah.
You got Xavier Legette, who played quarterback in high school. Obviously, he probably would have played wide receiver in high school had Mullins had an actual quarterback. He gets to South Carolina. He gets with Justin Stepp, and within 2 or 3 years, now he's doing what he's doing. You can't tell me that Justin Stepp can't take the best athlete in the nation and be able to get him to run 4 routes or run a jet sweep. Because he knows what he's doing. At this point, it's got to be OC and them just not putting him in the game.
Yeah, and like I said, going back to receivers, we got Omega Blake. We upgraded the tight end position last year.
Yeah, for sure.
We had Trey Knox led the way with 7 catches last night. Finally, they're getting him more involved. Joshua Simon had 2 catches last night. He was an athletic tight end coming from, I believe, Western Kentucky. We don't even try. Tyshawn Russell, was one of the guys being was like, we got to figure out how to get involved. Had 1 catch.
Yeah.
And
you can't get them involved when they're not on the field. Get them on the field.
No.
And you got 2 weeks. Again, my outlook on I'm trying not to overreact because these are games that on paper, that you should have lost. Georgia, Tennessee.
Yeah.
But again, my outlook on the year was still rebuilding, make a bowl game. You still got a chance to do that and some. Like you said, you come out, you play well against Florida, you're 3-3, you go on the road. If you can split one of those with Missouri and Texas A&M, be 4-4 coming into the last 4 games at home, you're going to have a Jacksonville State. Kentucky's looking good, though. You got Vanderbilt. You're set up to be able to get back to the bowl. If you get 6 or 7 wins, in my eyes, that's still a pretty good year for what we're at and where we are in terms of this rebuild.
Yeah.
But again, it's kind of the same thing we said with Clemson is you got to look better as it goes on. You got to be more consistent. So you got to come out of this bye week and you got to be a complete game where we look good.
Yeah. And
get your playmakers on the field.
I knew we weren't probably going to win going in last night, but Tennessee's definitely not a 3-touchdown better team than us.
The thing is if you play consistently, you can win that game. You just could. At points you were there in the game, and even when you were down by 21, you were coming back. You just couldn't consistently put things together.
Yeah,
you couldn't consistently stop them. It was like, okay, the defense finally made a stop. All right, well, offense can't do anything.
Yeah.
Well, offense has a big drive and scores. Well, defense gives up a 3-play, 94-yard touchdown drive.
Yeah, and one thing I'm going to say is, and I don't know if this is like controversial, you probably can't compare the 2 things, but I'm going to. When Kelly Bryant was the quarterback at Clemson,
right?
He wasn't bad.
Right.
His first year, he started his second year, but guess who was behind him in his second season? Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
Okay. Kelly Bryant wasn't bad.
Right.
But you could definitely tell he wasn't making them better. He wasn't making them any worse.
Right.
Dabo made the decision to put Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
And guess what? It worked out for them in the long run. And I'm not saying this is the case for us, but it's like if these veterans that you're so hell bent on showing loyalty and keep trotting them out there aren't making us any better, give somebody else a try.
Right. You got to stop.
Give somebody else a try.
Thank you for everything that you did for us, DK. Thank you for everything that you've done, Doty. You've been loyal. You showed what it is to be a true teammate.
Yep.
Do anything that's asked of you is. But at the end of the day, it's still reality. People's jobs are on the line.
Loyalty doesn't win you football games.
People's emotions, like mine, are on the line. Get the guys, your young guys out there, get them reps. Not saying just completely stop playing Doty and DK. Get them, you gotta flip it to where you're saying, all right, we got Harbor in them.
Mm-hmm.
Now we got to figure out a way to get Luke and DK back on the field a little bit.
Yeah.
That's what I want to hear at the end.
Yeah.
I want to win games and then hear them say, all right, now we'll figure out a way to get them back on the field instead of saying we've got these uber talented guys just sitting on the sideline that we're not using.
Yeah. And if I swear to God, if I see DeCarrion Joyner or Juju McDowell at running back,
I don't mind Juju in like a 2nd and 8 when it could be a throw-in, so they're not, completely sold out on the run because he has some decent runs every now and then.
Don't hand it off to him. Don't hand it off to him.
Not even a little swing pass.
Nope. Don't. No.
Well, you got to have a 2nd string running back.
I'm not saying that.
You can't ruin.
But when you've got a 3rd and 1 and you've got a guy that's 5'9", 154 pounds and running straight out of defensive tackle, that's over 330 pounds. It's not really going to work.
And the good thing is we got Mario again next year if he stays. I think he will.
I'm surprised Beamer hasn't said we got to find a way to get him on the field more.
Yeah, but running back is definitely a position that you got to get more.
He is your running back.
Yeah, for sure.
And I get you need depth at every position, but you ride that horse till you can't no more.
Yeah.
Do you think they worried about?
We're definitely more of a pass heavy team, anyways. He's only going to get
because we can't block effectively to get the run game going.
Yeah.
But like you said yesterday, we had spurts. I mean, where Mario ran the ball really good.
Yeah.
We maybe didn't score at punt. Who knows?
Right.
But then we come back out the next drive and it's like
it's just not consistent. It's just like, all right, we ran good last drive, so the next drive we just come out and throw it 3 times
or if it's like we have a good run, then we just keep running the ball.
Right.
And then
they
stops.
settle on a run and then we get into 3rd and 8 and then it's just no consistency. Like I said, we've had multiple drives every game where you're like, okay, here we go. Now we're doing something. And then it's just like the next drive is a 3 and out. And you're like, what are we doing? And it's the same thing with defense. It's like, all right, they just drive it right down your throat and score.
Yeah.
And then they come back and they get, a 3 and out or they make a big stop and force a punt. And it's just like, why can't we do this more consistent? I know that teams are going to score. You're going to have bad drives. Yeah. But you can't be like, good drive, bad drive, bad drive, good drive, bad drive, bad drive. It's got to be, good, good, good. Up, they got to say good, good, good. It's got to be more consistent.
And they weren't beating us down the field passing it.
No.
They had one fluke play where he made a heck of a catch.
And the other thing is, like, you know what Tennessee's offense is. You know they go fast.
Mm-hmm.
Practice that all week. Get your guys ready to say, okay, look, they snap it, run it, ball spotted, get down, get in your stance. They run 17 plays.
Yeah.
Jalen Hyatt came out and did an interview or said something.
Yeah.
And he said, look, our offense at Tennessee is 17 plays. You know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And basically it's just running it. And then every now and then they're going to throw a quick slant. They're going to throw a little bubble screen or something like that. And then every now and then they're going to try and go deep downfield.
Yeah. And I mean, they didn't have to go downfield.
Get down, get set. Instead, we got players. I mean, they look so confused. They were just unprepared on top of not playing well.
And I mean, and when the DBs are giving you 8 yards,
you can run those slants all day long.
I would. Yeah. I would throw any other thing against us.
Exactly.
Because guess what? We're still going to give them the space.
Yeah.
So, but again, this is probably another overreaction, which I think is healthy.
I expected to lose. I expected it to be 14. I thought we would look better though. It was just the bad thing was it was just like how unprepared we looked on defense really bothered me. Just not being able to get set and stuff because there was a lot of plays where you even had them on 3rd down and it was just like, all right, it's 3rd and 5.
Yeah.
But we couldn't get set in time and then they just, all right, they got the first down.
You want to hear our defensive stats after week 5?
Go ahead.
Okay. So total defense, 443 yards per game. That's last.
Atrocious.
That's last. Pass defense, 301 yards, 301.4 yards per game.
And we're not even playing good quarterbacks.
Last. Tackles for loss, 77.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Last.
Opponents first down. I don't know what that stat is because it's abbreviated. We're 13th, so next to last.
Yeah.
Opponent third down rate, 43.6%, 12th. So we're improving.
Yeah.
We're getting there. It's going down. Opponent's long scrimmage place.
Most of the time, though, on the 3rd down is because they're not getting the 3rd down.
Yeah.
They're getting the first downs after 1st and 2nd down.
We're 12th in opponent's long scrimmage place, 78.
Yeah.
Scoring defense, 29.4, 11th. So there. Rush defense, 141.6, 11th.
Yeah, it's just bad. And like I said, the bad thing is it's just unprepared. Just you're not prepared.
Let's see what Clayton White makes.
But they got 2 weeks to try and figure it out to come into the back half of the season. Again, there are wins, that you can see on the schedule. You just got to go and prepare yourself and look better and be more consistent and get the best players on the field.
When Clayton White makes $1.1 million a year,
you've got to be better. You can't be last. You can't be last or second to last.
How does somebody keep their job?
Loyalty. But at the end of the day, loyalty ain't winning games. So Beamer's got to make some.
I'll say it like we did with Muschamp before. If you're going to risk your career on Colin Hill like he did that entire season, you get what you get.
Right.
I mean, if you're comfortable with that, at the end of the day, if you're happy.
And like I said, I get we're not going to do anything mid-season, but if something's not done right after the season's over.
Yeah. There's like comfortably, I would say there's maybe 3 or 4 position coaches that are safe.
Yeah.
And Travion Robertson, this is his first year. Nobody should be safe on the defensive side of the ball.
No.
I like Torian Gray.
Yeah.
I think he's a great position coach. I think he should be safe, but everybody else is free reins.
Yeah.
You can't pay somebody that amount of money and get that product out of it.
And offensively, I think, offensive line, it is what it is. The talent's just not there, but you've got a load of talent coming in. So
I think Teasley
if you can't do it with the talent that's coming in, okay, maybe. I think that, he should be safe because, again, we kind of piecing this offensive line together. You are playing 2 true freshmen on top of some, I think, 2 transfers, and then I think
that was our toughest away game. Hopefully, Texas A&M is not a night game, but that was our toughest away game last night.
You got 2 weeks. Figure it out. That's all I'm saying.
I bet you $20 we don't figure it out. He's going to say this. If he says the same thing after the Florida game, I'm going to quit being a Gamecock fan. You've heard it here first.
He's out on Beamer.
I'm not out on Beamer. I'm out on the Gamecocks.
Because
I hate hearing that crap.
The whole team.
I can't stand it.
Yeah. Eventually, you got to just stop saying it and do it.
Exactly. So that's what you get paid all that money for.
Yeah. What you got nationally?
Let me get my blood pressure down. What is and I don't know if you watched this game. I think I know the answer to it.
If it was after the South Carolina game.
No, it was before. It was. What do you think about Billy Napier at Florida? Kentucky beat the breath out of Florida.
Yeah, Florida. Again, it's a team you can't get a grasp on. They beat Tennessee.
We need to stop pretending Florida's good.
Yeah, and then Kentucky. Here's the thing: is like Kentucky has been better. People still get kind of wrapped up on what Kentucky was 10 years ago, but they've consistently been better here over the last few years. They've been ranked at times. They've been ranked pretty high, top 20 at times.
Yeah.
They're getting good recruits. They're making bowl games every year. They're not, what they used to be. They're undefeated right now. I don't think that Florida's good, but I think that you can't say, it's a bad game because it was Kentucky. Because I think that Kentucky's good.
He will get fired at Florida. They don't care.
And then Prime's coming to Florida.
I'll say this about Kentucky. I've got a friend of mine who's a Kentucky fan, and I texted them this yesterday. If is it Bob Stoops?
Yeah,
he gets one running back that's a playmaker. That's when they're the best. You look at their most successful seasons under Stoops is when they can run the ball. Benny Snell, this kid from Vanderbilt. Right. You never would have thought that. But if they have one playmaker, I think it was Benny Snell when we played at Kentucky one time. He just lined up in the what is it? The Wildcat formation.
Yeah.
They just ran the exact same play
over and over.
We couldn't stop it.
Yeah.
Their most successful seasons, and I think they've got it again this year with this running back, is when they're most successful. Yeah. And I think they're going to be.
It's hard to tell what Kentucky is. I think that they're good. Again, I don't think that Florida's good. I think that they just had a good game against Tennessee when Tennessee was playing a bad game. I think Tennessee's a better team than Florida.
If they play at Tennessee, Tennessee wins that game.
Napier, if he don't figure it out here soon, and he'll probably figure it out against us after this bye, they'll probably come out and, dog walk us, and that'll save his job for a few weeks. But, yeah.
Watch next week's game. It's Kentucky at Georgia. Honestly,
you're going to know what Kentucky's got.
I think Kentucky will beat Georgia.
They got a good chance. I don't think that Georgia is what everybody thinks. Let's put it this way. Georgia, when you looked at them the past 2 years, you could just look at them and say, all right, that's the best team in the nation.
Yeah.
They're number one right now, and I'm not saying that they're not one of the best, but I don't think that there's truly a team that's just head and shoulders better than anybody else in the nation right now.
So here's the top 10. This is week 6 coaches poll that came out today from USA Today. Number 1 is Georgia. Number 2, Michigan. 3, Ohio State. 4, Texas. 5, Florida State. 6, Penn State. 7, USC. Not the real USC. Southern California.
Right.
8, Washington. 9, Oregon. And 10, Alabama.
I think, and really, Texas is the only one of those teams that has like a legitimate win, which was against Alabama.
Yeah, that's not real. If you're going off rankings,
yeah. But I mean, of the team, nobody's really played anybody else to say like, all right, this is a legit win to like stamp us down as one of the top teams.
I think Ohio State's way overranked.
Michigan probably is too.
If I were to make a poll, it would be Georgia's not number 1.
No,
honestly, here's the thing. Again, Michigan hasn't played anybody, but it's one thing not to play somebody, but when you don't play somebody and you beat the brakes off of them, it's understandable.
Right.
I would put Michigan number 1, Texas number 2, Florida State number 3. I would honestly, dude, Washington and Oregon are good.
So you putting Georgia way down the list.
No, I think Georgia would be 5.
Yeah.
I think
Michigan, Texas would definitely be.
I think we underestimated how good and how valuable Stetson Bennett was to Georgia.
Yeah.
These past 2 seasons. Georgia lost their offensive coordinator. They got Mike Bobo.
Yeah.
They're
making it work.
They love the South Carolina assistants and head coaches.
They're making it work.
But they don't have to. They've got the defense.
Right, exactly.
This is like what it was before their 2 national championship runs, where they just piece together their offense a little bit, and their defense wins them the championships.
Yeah.
I don't think Southern Cal's that good. They're great offensively.
They're playing a true Lincoln Riley style team where we're going to give up a ton of points, but we're just going to outshoot you at the end.
Talking about being loyal, him being loyal to that defensive coordinator. They brought him from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But hey, dude, give credit to Colorado. Yeah. Nobody expected them to win this game, and they did.
Especially after they're showing against Oregon. Everybody was like, all right, well, the fun's over now. So now you're actually playing teams.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna finally see what Colorado is. And at the beginning of that game, it was like, all right, here it is again. But Colorado, they are what Dion is saying they are. You better get us now.
Yeah.
Because they are going to be good. And when you have a showing like that where you still don't have your best player in Travis Hunter in the game.
And they didn't have Shiloh Sanders in the secondary.
Then somebody was like, look, because Colorado had a chance to win that game, and then their last drive where they ended up scoring to make it a 7-point game, it took them forever. It was like there was no clock management there.
Yeah, they're still running the ball. And they haven't any timeouts.
Somebody tweeted, they were just like, look, Colorado potentially wins that game if they either A, have Travis Hunter, who was probably good for at least a touchdown, or B, had somebody with a watch on.
Yeah, because it was like a 4-touchdown game.
Right.
And I think I saw something where, and I don't know if this is true because I had the game on, but I had the audio on the Clemson game.
Right.
But they were saying that when they got up that big, USC got up big over Colorado, Lincoln Riley just kind of took his foot off the gas. I'm sorry. People can hate Steve Spurrier, but at the end of the day, it's your job to stop us. If you're not stopping us, we're going to
keep scoring.
And when you get complacent and you stop doing what you're doing that got you to that point.
The thing is,
I never understand when coaches do that. And what on both sides of the ball.
And here's the other thing is like you got your quarterback he's trying to win the Heisman here.
Oh, he's going to. Michael Penix from Washington.
And here's the thing. Shedeur Sanders is good. And he was showing it in that game. And he's playing without his best or his number one target.
Do you think
some of those throws that he was making is just ridiculous?
He is good, and it's I think it's a little. You could say it's.
And
a little
again,
bit of
he's playing with a line,
that's not good.
Not good.
No.
I mean, he's running for his life as well.
Yeah.
And making plays like once he finally gets a good line. I mean, he's going to be one of.
But I think
he's one of the best in the nation.
I
now,
think he'll be gone when they get a good line.
Probably, yeah.
Because I mean, that's a 2 to 3.
Because Prime's going to leave too, and he's just going to follow Daddy wherever he goes.
No, he'll be in the pros.
How many years has he got?
So I don't think he'll leave after. I think
He's got one more year.
He could leave after this year.
He needs another year.
I don't think he leaves after that. He leaves after next year.
Here's the thing, though, is like maybe they'll definitely have a better line next year because now everybody sees, and that is the toughest position to get in the portal.
You're not going to get it through the portal.
Yeah,
you're going to get players that come from smaller schools.
Yep.
These guys that transfer from big schools are guys that don't play.
Right.
And it's maybe because they're freshmen.
Yeah.
And because that's a position you want
continuancy in.
Yeah, you want your seniors.
Right.
You don't want to go into a game playing at Neyland Stadium
with two true freshmen
and have 2 true freshmen.
Right.
That's tough.
And a transfer from Yale.
Yeah, graduate transfer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we know what USC is. They don't have a good defense.
Right.
They want to win.
They're not going to win the national championship because of that. I mean, if you can't play defense against a team that, Colorado, they are what they are.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to get a grasp on what they are because they beat up on some bad teams, a half decent TCU team. They lost terribly to Oregon.
Yeah.
And then, they come out against a, national contender in USC and the offense plays well. They can't stop them on the end.
Yeah. And honestly, anybody can score. I think can score. But hey, it doesn't matter.
That's Lincoln Riley's offense. He's going to live and die by I can outscore you.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when you play a team like Texas, you play a team like Michigan, they're going to say, okay, I can stop you.
Yeah.
So can you, stop us consistently enough? And you can't.
I think yesterday spoke more about the type of team Colorado can be.
Yeah.
Because I think they're a good team. They're not a great team yet.
Yeah.
There's something
and
wrong
unfortunately
with
for Colorado, Prime will be gone next year.
He's not leaving after this year. He's not leaving after.
They better do something next year because he's gone after next year.
Where's he going to
go? Miami.
Miami's not firing Chris.
Going to Miami, Florida then when they fired Napier.
Probably, maybe. I don't know. I think he's there for a little bit.
Yeah.
I truly think so.
One last thing before we sign off. Clemson's leaving the ACC.
Yeah.
And it's kind of up in the air right now, whether it's
North
SEC
Carolina,
or Big Ten. A lot of people are saying it's Big Ten. Then you got a lot of people saying SEC. I don't think the SEC wants them.
Well, there's a lot of rumors floating around that it's South Carolina doesn't want them, and that might be the case. I don't know, but it's like and you just never know with the way these conference realignments are going. But adding Clemson to the SEC doesn't do anything for the SEC in terms of like the market that they attract.
Right.
Now, in terms of being it's more they gain another good football team.
Yeah.
Great football team.
Yeah.
But in terms of like capturing a
audience,
they've got that already.
Right. Yeah. This move for Clemson is more for Clemson than anything.
If it was between North Carolina and Clemson, who the SEC take, they take North Carolina.
Probably.
Because they don't have a team.
And unfortunately, I don't know if it's a good move for Clemson. They're going to have to consistently year in and year out now play Michigan's, Ohio State's, Penn State's.
Yeah.
You're not going to play the Syracuse, Boston colleges.
But the thing is, they're not doing it for that. They're doing it for money.
And eventually
in 10 years, there's not going to.
It's going to be like two conferences.
It'll be.
It's going to be like the NFC and the AFC.
It'll be the NFL. So I'd say probably within the next decade and a half, there's going to be no more bowl games.
Right.
You're going to have these big
Giant
conferences that consolidate.
Right.
You're going to have divisions, and then you're going to get a team that makes it from each division.
Yep.
It's gonna look like
NFL.
That's exactly what it's gonna be.
Yep.
And that's what it's going to with these big gigantic TV contracts because those stupid commercials.
Yep.
So, but
I think they're going Big Ten. If I had to guess.
Yeah, I would say so.
I think the Big Ten wants them, and that's probably the best landing
I think the
spot
SEC wants them, but the SEC doesn't gain anything
Right.
besides getting another good football team.
Right. All right. Well, Clemson will play Wake Forest this week. South Carolina is on a bye. I think Clemson
will probably still lose the bye week.
Probably because the way that you lose the bye week is if you come out against Florida and you don't get the playmakers in there.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, then you can look back and say, all right, we lost the bye.
Yeah.
Clemson wins. I think they win by 14 or more against Wake Forest.
We don't know the line yet because obviously we record the day after the games. But yeah,
and it's back at a home game for Clemson.
Wins easily.
Yep.
Yeah, Clemson wins easily.
So thank God we don't have to live through another week of South Carolina football this coming up weekend.
I'll be at the Furman Citadel game.
It'll probably look better than what South Carolina's been putting out there.
Yeah, FU all the time. That's their saying.
There you go.
That's their saying.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys next week.